What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well today. It is Friday, September 20th, and this is Raphael Garcia here for Let's Talk Wrestling episode number 32. Before I dive into this past week of wrestling, I want to first apologize because I'm under the weather. I fucked around and got a flu shot on Wednesday, and I'm having a really bad reaction to it. So if you hear me sniffling, if you hear me maybe almost blowing my nose, I'll try not to do that with the audio on. I apologize, but yeah, I'm slightly under the weather, and always, as always, it should happen at the worst time ever. But that's neither here nor there. So bear with me. I apologize for the sniffling that you may hear every now and then, but yeah, I'm just not feeling it today. But we have quite a bit of wrestling to talk about, which will immediately raise my spirits because it's been a hell of a week. We had pretty good Raw and SmackDown this week, and also we had the first edition of the live taping of NXT on Wednesday. So we're going to talk about all three of those topics and also go into some of the Wednesday Night War stuff that we're going to see over the next few weeks. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty good show. I expect to go for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to us. If you would like, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at MMA Ratings. You can catch us on Instagram and Twitter at MMA Ratings Net. You can catch us on both of those sites or both of those spots, where we are usually talking professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, combat sports. You can catch me at rgarcia_sports, where I'm rambling and ranting about basketball, MMA, pro wrestling, sometimes boxing, not really too much NFL anymore, social issues. So yeah, if you want to follow me, be forewarned. But I appreciate everyone that's taking the time to listen to this show. You can like and subscribe to our content on Spotify and Anchor as well. Of course, on YouTube, where we post most of our shows. And again, thank you for taking the time to check us out today. So for Raw and SmackDown, I don't want to go. My overall goal when I started this show was to not necessarily have a highlights show per se, but it's transitioned into doing that a little bit because I think there are always talking points out of these shows. So I wanted to look at some of the major points from this past Monday and Tuesday, and just talk about some of those major highlights and some of the things that stood out to me. And the first one was Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns getting crushed by Rowan and Harper. That happened on Tuesday to close out SmackDown. And I always hate when they have these promo segments close out shows. It just never really kind of excites me. It just like it's filler to me, for lack of a better term. But Daniel Bryan comes out, he's talking about Rowan, who betrayed him, saying that he betrayed his friendship, etc., etc. Rowan comes out. Of course, Daniel Bryan gets blindsided by Luke Harper, who's returned. Roman Reigns comes down, tries to make the save, then Reigns ends up eating it as well. Daniel Bryan gets hit with the Bludgeon Brothers tandem move through the table. I don't know what the name of that move is. Never really liked it. It's like a combination of the Razor's Edge and the Shield power bomb. They're tall, they're huge. They go through. It looks devastating falling from that height, but it's just never been something that's been that exciting to me. But that's neither here nor there. Both Roman and Daniel are left laying. So obviously it's going to set up those two teaming up to face off against Harper and Rowan in the near future. I like how this storyline is kind of keeping Roman out of the title picture. That's kind of been the big thing to me, keeping Roman out of the title picture while Kofi Kingston is the champ. We're going to talk about Kofi in a minute as well. But it gives him something to do. It keeps him active, and I think it's elevating Harper and Roman as well too, especially Roman because he's been involved from the start. And now that Harper's back, it'll be interesting to see how they use him as well. He hasn't said anything yet, but he's been just now getting featured. So I think that that's going to be some growth for both of those guys because everyone always really kind of spoke highly about Harper, but never really had too much to say about Rowan. And I think I don't want to say that's changing now, but Rowan's definitely being elevated, which I'm always a fan of. I'm always a fan of seeing newer guys get elevated and get pushed up the ranks. So this is a good change of pace for those two as well. I'm appreciating what I'm seeing. So this will probably be a tag team match at Hell in a Cell in the next couple of weeks. I think that's a pretty good way to go. I think it's a pretty good blow off, and we'll see what will happen for all of the parties involved after that. Probably the segment of the week, and one again another fantastic picture of the Fiend was with what occurred on Monday, where I don't even remember how Seth Rollins is getting beaten down by the OC and Dolph and Rude. And Kane comes out because the show was in Tennessee. You know, he's the mayor of Knox County. So he comes out, looks good. I mean, he doesn't look fat. He doesn't look slow like The Undertaker does now at this point. But he fights his way out. He fights his way out. And he basically does the Kane shtick, and he's clothesline or he's choke slamming guys, hitting guys with the boot, etc., hitting guys with his open hand throat thrust that he's always done. But he lays everybody out. Him and Seth are in the ring, and he goes to do the arm thing that Kane and Undertaker always done that kind of sets off the fire. And right when he has his arms all the way up, the lights go down, and they go down in that broken fashion that signifies the Fiend is coming. Kane doesn't move, he doesn't flinch. He like holding his head down like he knows what's coming. The lights flicker. You see the Fiend standing behind Kane, and it's amazing. It's an amazing shot. Probably gonna use that as the thumbnail for this show. It's an amazing shot because all you see are the lights flickering and Bray Wyatt standing there. Uh, Kane ends up taking the mandible claw, goes down, goes to his back. You hear him trying to scream and yell. Never heard Kane necessarily getting manhandled like that. He rolls away, and the Fiend crawls over to Seth Rollins and just stares at him. Seth then closes his eyes like he's in a horror film and is afraid to look at the monster who he knows is just standing over him. It's an amazing shot. Again, they've gotten so many great shots of the Fiend. I don't know if you follow. I think her name is Kimberly Last Kick or something like that on Instagram. She continues to take excellent photos of the Fiend, and all of them are excellent, fantastic shots that work perfect with the lighting and work perfect with this character. And I just love what I'm seeing here. I think this was a great segment. They then cut away, and the Firefly Funhouse music plays for almost like 2 minutes. And it's interesting because the people are kind of split on this. Actually, well, no, the only person I heard complain about this was Matt Morgan on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Me personally, I loved it because I was sitting here by myself at uh, at home watching the show, and I was just like, this is creepy as hell. Like it makes me think with it being so popular in the in the theaters and other big movies being so suspense thriller ish, no more like child's play jump scares type of stuff. I was waiting for something to happen that was going to give me a nightmare. But the fact that that music kept playing, I was just like, this is the weirdest thing I've seen on pro wrestling in a long time, and weird in a good way. And I really enjoyed that because this is, I can guarantee you, someone's kids had nightmares. I'm actually going to ask my coworker because he has two younger sons that watch wrestling with him, and I wonder what his thoughts are about the Fiend and if they've been horrified by him yet. But it definitely scared. I mean, I could see it easily scaring the shit out of somebody, and it was a creepy segment. Great finish to the show. They tweeted out a picture, or posted a picture on Instagram of Bray Wyatt and all the people that he's put out with the mandible claw so far, and it's been a list of list of legends, and I think legends and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the only active guy that's ate it. But yeah, I was pretty interested in what I saw there, and it was a good close to me, great close to me. Let's see, the Four Horsewomen, their segments. I don't remember all of it. I just remember this chair swinging spot with Sasha and Becky. Yeah, yeah. Sasha and Becky. Bailey comes out swinging a chair. Charlotte comes out in heels. Like, man, Charlotte is a bad motherfucker, yo. She's walking down the ramp in heels, times it perfectly, gives Bailey a big boot. Anyone else would have broken their ankle, but she just strides through it, gives her a big boot, climbs in the ring. Uh, Becky, I have to figure out a better way to do that. But Lynch ends up cleaning out Sasha with the chair. They roll out. It was a good segment. I don't really remember too much more about it beyond that, but I do remember the fact that I'm thinking we're heading into a dangerous situation with the way the WWE is booking Sasha Banks and Bailey since their heel turns, because they've been doing nothing but getting their asses kicked. Even with the Hell in a Cell, where it ended with Becky putting her arm in the chair and hitting her with the disarmer. I can't remember the last time I remember her standing tall with someone was when Bailey turned. That's the last time I remember them standing tall with someone because Bailey's ate a pinfall from Charlotte since then. They had their 3 minute match where she cheated to win and ran out, which we're gonna talk about Bailey in a second. Where she cheated to win and ran out, and then Sasha's been, getting beaten up week in and week out. There needs to be a segment that ends with them beating the hell out of somebody, preferably Charlotte or Lynch or both, and it needs to be done right because I think she's losing some heat. She's losing some heat, and people are recognizing that if you watch or if you read what's going on across wrestling Twitter. A lot of people are pointing out, especially a lot of her stands, of course, are pointing out that she's consistently getting beaten down and is left laying, and people are raising questions like, what the hell's going on here? She's supposed to be the baddest motherfucker in the division. That's what she's saying. And I hate when she says women's division, but that's neither here nor there. But they need to do something about the way she's being booked because it's just not coming off as strong as it should. And I hope that that's something that they fix sooner rather than later. I would love to see Sasha getting some big moments over people and just, beating the shit out of some of her contemporaries. Bailey, on the other hand, she's been playing into that uh I don't even know how you can characterize her heel character, but it's almost as if she doesn't believe she's a heel and she's been playing into that very well. Her interactions on social media have been great. Her interactions on camera in tape segments have been fantastic. She's playing up that all shucks personality, but also doing dastardly things, but she's just doing them to people that are like Charlotte. We had the situation where Carmella came down and uh, stepped in to save Charlotte, and that's going to create an intriguing dynamic because everyone knows that they're actually best friends in real life. So it'll be interesting to see how they play off of that. Because Carmella only actually got physical with Sasha, she just pushed Bailey. There was no strikes there. So let's see what happens there if Bailey ends up actually attacking Carmella at some point. It'll kind of continue that she's loyal to Charlotte, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that they're playing up the storyline correctly. They're pushing it along the path correctly, and I'm enjoying what I'm seeing here. It wasn't a it was a good progression of the storyline. Baron Corbin and Chad Gable, that feud is gonna continue, and I love how we're elevating two guys. The two men who reached the final of the King of the Ring both are getting elevated, and I love this because the King of the Ring, in my opinion, it was a good product, and it did what it needed to do in helping these two guys get over. Corbin had to be repaired after basically being drugged through the mud by WWE itself with how they were talking about him all these past months and basically blaming him as a reason why the show was struggling. Chad Gable had to get repaired because he hadn't been getting on television for months and he was basically being overlooked. And I think that WWE successfully did that. Corbin comes out doing his classic heel shtick, calls out Gable. They come out, Gable and him get to a fight. Gable breaks the scepter over his ribs and his back, breaks a chair, etc., etc. Nothing too flashy there, but it was enough to continue this feud, take it to the next step, and also elevate these two guys. I'm interested in seeing what happens with both Chad Gable and Baron Corbin going forward. Corbin's getting cheers just because his matches have been great. He he's never been. I've always thought he was good in the ring. He has a great moveset. He works very well with smaller guys. He's safe, protects a lot of people, and his moves still look like they destroy people's bodies. And I think that that is what is fantastic. And I love everything I'm seeing out of him. And I hope that his success continues. But I do really believe that he is going to be a strong heel in the future. We also got the return of AOP, and they came back in a video segment. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this segment. I was talking to one of my editors about it because I have a question. I have a question about why they looked okay. So let me take a step back. They looked fantastic in their suits, trim, sitting there. They look massive. They look like the two final villains you would face before you fight the final boss in the video game. They look like the two guys that Jason Statham and The Rock would have to go through right before they get to the main villain in the next Hobbs and Shaw movie. They look the part. But I wonder what is the purpose of having a heel speak in a foreign language as if that is what makes them a heel? When Asuka was on her run as a babyface, they pushed her to learn and speak English. Same thing with Shin. But when Asuka was doing her heelish tactics, even in NXT, she always spoke and went on Japanese rants. Shin, when he was sitting at the announcers table last week, only spoke in Japanese as well, as if that's what he does now that he's a heel. Yes, he has Sami Zayn in his corner, but that has significance to me. Then you had Akam and Razor also speaking in uh, their foreign languages that they know. I'm not sure which ones they were. I think one of them was Arabic, I believe. But speaking in their languages as if, again, that is a demographic of a heel wrestler. It just doesn't sit well with me per se because it's a continued trend. It's something that we've seen oftentimes in wrestling as if that's how we're going to characterize our heels. But I, I'm just not a fan of it. However, I am a fan of these two guys as wrestlers. They're monsters, dude. They're monsters. Akam is 6'3", Razor is 6'4". They're Akam's 290, Razor's 330. Like these guys are beasts, and I just hope that they get booked like that. I mean, I actually forget that they've been Raw Tag Team Champions. Like I completely forgot that they are Raw Tag Team Champions. Like they've been Raw Tag Team Champions. So there's that. I mean, we gotta remember about that. And then you have Razor, who it has fought MMA. He's only 25 years old. I mean, he could actually still go back and fight MMA if he can make weight at heavyweight again. But he's 6-2. He fought in Bellator. He lost via TKO, and he's beaten some guys who have fought in the UFC. The dude's a beast. I guarantee you, he is someone that what's his name? Dana White would be interested in because this guy he looks the part. He's a submission spec, like he can throw in submissions, he can knock you out, etc. etc. I Do you put them in a mouthpiece? Potentially. Um, Stokely Hathaway would be great to go with. We'll go with these two guys. Samoa Joe would be great to go with them. They don't have to play second to anyone, but the Drake Maverick thing, the Drake Maverick test just didn't sit well with me. If they get a mouthpiece, it would be excellent to see them get someone. Like hell, I would even put Paige with them. I think that would be great as well. Have them be her heavies. That would be fantastic. Keeps her relevant. I think that's much more important than the Kabuki Warriors, in my opinion. If I was using Paige as a mouthpiece, it would either be with them or with Rhea Ripley. But that's neither here nor there. That's another conversation for a different day. But these two guys, they cut a pretty interesting promo. They replayed it on SmackDown on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to what's next for them, man. They're 25 and 26 years old. 25 and 26 years old. These two guys can be absolutely freaks. And let's just see what happens. But I hope that I hope that they get properly used in the near future. So give me 1 second so I can get some water because I'm sounding stuff. Hold on 1 second. Oh man, sorry about that, guys. So the next topic I want to talk about is NXT Live, the first edition of the live showcase to combat or compete with AEW went off on Wednesday. And starting with the ratings first, it popped a 1.17 million viewership number, which is fantastic. Much better than the 800,000 that the first live special did. And I think that this is a positive indicator for the WWE, much better than they projected. So I think that those are great numbers there. A lot of people had issues with logging into the platform on Wednesday when it first kicked off, and that caused a lot of complaints across wrestling Twitter. But people tend to complain louder than necessary, so I'm not quite sure how widespread that issue was. I didn't have a problem when I logged in when I got back home. I actually started watching in the car, didn't have an issue there, and then didn't have an issue when I got back home. But I am pleased with what I saw. It started out with the women, which I think was fantastic for a four-way with Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Mia Yim. Great match there where Candice LeRae becomes the number one contender by pinning Mia Yim. I'm going to go back and watch it as well too, just because I want to kind of highlight some other spots that I saw. But I think everyone came across very well. Candice LeRae she's the individual. I think I've mentioned this on the show in the past that the NXT Women's Division can be built around for an extended period of time. You don't really need her on the main roster quite yet, but she's someone who this NXT division can be built around as they continue to move women back and forth between the roster. I think I think she's someone that can be built around. It's good to see that they are moving. I think they're going to move. What was I about to say? I forgot my train of thought. I apologize there, guys. But Candice LeRae is someone that division can be built around. I am excited to see what's next with her. They're moving away from booking her as Johnny Gargano's wife, which they should have done a long time ago. Uh, but it's good to see her wrestling. It's good to see her being active. And I think she's going to be a great number one contender. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they book it in a way where she could beat Shayna, but Bianca Belair and Mia Yim, who are two bigger, athletic, stronger women, couldn't. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, they tell that story with Johnny Gargano all day, every day. I expect them to tell that story here with Candice LeRae as well. We got a great surprise on Wednesday as Lio Rush came back and became the number one contender to Drew Gulak's cruiserweight title. And this speaks to the thought that the cruiserweights are going to be kind of melded into NXT, which is fantastic. I think that is a great fit for them. We saw Kushida on this show as well too. And man, you how can I put this into words? Lio Rush is the WWE's version of the star athlete that people always call a locker room problem, but we forget how fantastic they are when they go out there and compete. We forget how great, like, people forgot how great Randy Moss was until he teamed up with um, Tom Brady and went for a run. He was already a Hall of Famer before he got with Tom Brady and went for a run. People forgot how great someone like Manny Ramirez was as a player, and he, continued to power teams through the postseason. People forgot how great someone like a Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins is until he was already carrying teams on his back, but when you put him with super teams, he just excelled even further. Lio Rush, he's had issues from day one joining the WWE, and people have had their comments and have had a lot to say about him, but they recognize his talent. There was no way in hell they were just going to let this guy go and let him go join AEW or go to New Japan or go somewhere else when they know what he's capable of doing between the ropes. I mean, Lio Rush I think he's 21. See how old he is. He's 24. And yeah, there's no way you can deny what this guy can do. Yeah, he's small, 5'6", 160. I'm that size. He's actually not 160 pounds, but that's neither here nor there. The dude can go. He can put on, he can steal a show easily. I think that WWE knows what they have with him. You saw a lot of that in his match tonight. And I think that the ceiling is the roof for this guy, as Michael Jordan has once said. And I am just excited to see how they use him. I hope he can stay within the organization and not get pushed back out because of his behavior again. But I don't think that that's going to be the case. I'm hoping someone sits him down and has like a conversation with him, like, "Hey, dude, you gotta chill." And I hope that that's the case, and we get to see something great out of him because I think that he can deliver, and I think that he can really be something special. But he is now the number one contender to that cruiserweight title. I hope we get something with him and Kushida in the future because I think that they would tear it up. But that's neither here nor there. We also got uh, Undisputed fulfilling the prophecy as Roderick Strong took the NXT American title from Velveteen Dream. And I mean, I don't. The only way I would feel comfortable about this is if it puts Dream in a position to challenge Adam Cole for the belt. Velveteen Dream is probably their biggest star or has the biggest potential for star status on the NXT roster right this minute. If we didn't change anything, didn't do anything, he is the individual with the biggest ceiling or the biggest potential for reaching star status right now. Dude, it's over. He's getting better in the ring. Even the T-shirts that people were picking on WWE store, WWE shop for releasing last week, his actually looked great. The Prince gimmick is excellent. I love it. At first, I didn't love it, but I'm loving it now. His entrances are fantastic. His gear is excellent. His moveset works. So getting the NXT title off of him, I'm not sure if I totally agree with that, but if it keeps him in a feud with Undisputed, who are, they have all the gold. They're the they're the group right now to beat. I actually think they're the group to beat in WWE as a whole. But if this is an angle that keeps him involved with that group and keeps that storyline moving forward, sign me up. I think that there's potential there, and I'd like to see him and Adam Cole work together in the future. I think that this was a good match. We knew that they were going to deliver when the bell rung, but yeah, it was definitely something worth watching. There was a brawl to close out the show. It was actually it was so weird. It was a street fight between Killian Dane and Matt Riddle that basically broke down into a riot, like a in a soccer stadium. You had the Imperium joining in, Walter and all those guys. You had Forgotten Sons. You had the Street Profits run in. So it was a flat out brawl. But isn't that the point of a street fight? And a lot of people are pointing out that yeah, this match ended in a no contest, but it wasn't really a contest to begin with. It was a street fight. So there's still shoddy booking around that, but it was still something. It was okay to watch. I wasn't too what's the word? I wasn't too keen on it, but I'm not going to shit all over it. People are kind of like and I'm in the same boat. So that was the Wednesday night show there. Next week, I am not sure if next week is going to be split because they're waiting on Suits to end. I think Suits ends next week, but going forward, the week of October 2nd, when AEW premieres, they will be live for 2 hours on USA. Then we have Wednesday Night Wars. I want to talk about that in Kenny Omega's comments. NXT Live was a strong start for that kickoff of the Wednesday Night Wars. People are trying to talk about it's not going to be a quote unquote war between AEW and WWE. I disagree. You already see them kind of ramping. I mean, that's the whole point of a lot of what we've seen so far. And I think that that's what's important. is that just because they're using that terminology war doesn't mean it's a bad thing. This is what gets people excited. This is what we all want to see. They may not be using that term, but this is an exciting point in time in wrestling. There's a video going around. I'm not sure if WWE.com posted it as well, but Triple H getting the crowd hyped up after the show. I mean, that speech he gave. Say what you want about Triple H, that dude could get me hyped up to run through a brick wall. And he did it again, yelling about NXT. He goes into the crowd, gets everyone to surround him, chanting out NXT. I mean, is that those type of moments right there? Sign me the hell up for those. I'm a coach. I coach guys in grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling and stuff like that. I love getting my team hyped up, but I can never do the hype up the way Triple H does it. He had everybody like pumped. So it was a great moment there. Um, then you had Kenny Omega's comments, and people have been going back and forth about this on Twitter all week, where Kenny Omega basically called everyone developmental. He said something along the lines of if everybody was on the same card, everyone that's on NXT will be opening the show. They will be developmental, while he and others would be the main event stars. And that comment has rubbed some people the wrong way. People have been kind of like, okay, going at him for that. Others have been saying, well, if Seth Rollins said the same thing about AEW and you either shitted on that or you praised him for it, you got to treat Kenny Omega the same way because he's doing the same thing. Okay, I can rock with that. I really am indifferent to it. But I like what Chris Jericho actually said because he actually had a statement right after that saying that if they were being honest, the only people that mainstream fans may recognize on AEW, Chris Jericho, Dustin Rhodes, they may recognize him as Goldust. They might remember Cody Rhodes, Jim Ross. They'll recognize that name. That might be it. They're not going to recognize Adam Page. They're not going to recognize Kenny Omega. They're not going to recognize the Young Bucks. They're fucking not going to recognize Orange Cassidy, the Dark Order, Private Party, etc., etc. They're not going to recognize those guys. Now, that doesn't mean that they are any less of the talent as we know that they are, but mainstream fans, the people who flip through channels and stop when they see The Rock, stop when they see Stone Cold, stop when they see Shawn Michaels, aren't going to stop to see when they see any of those guys. And say what you want, but I have friends and family that used to love professional wrestling that do not watch anymore. When they see some big names pop up, they tune in. Even Kofi Kingston, which I actually forgot to talk about earlier today, I'm going to go circle back to that. Kofi Kingston has gotten some of my black friends to get back into wrestling during his title run. So you can't tell me that name recognition that the WWE has, AEW does have as well, because they don't. They have it with hardcore fans, and they have it all day in spades. The fan that is tired of WWE and their shtick and their bullshit booking sometimes, yes, I understand why they're all about AEW and all about riding that wave. But the name cachet and value that WWE has, AEW is nowhere near that right now, and I think that that's going to continue, and if that is why AEW continues to take shots at WWE because they want to be these type of headlines, these type of clips, these type of trending topics across social media will help them get that name recognition. But I am not mad at them for doing it. WWE's been going the opposite way and kind of not playing into that stick and playing into that argument, which is exactly what they should be doing. But yeah, we are heading into some interesting times when it comes to WWE content. I'm liking, or professional wrestling content, excuse me. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm enjoying every bit of it right now, and I hope that this trend continues because it's going to be something to watch. I wanted to circle back to Kofi Kingston. I forgot. I'm surprised I didn't put him down as a note, but they kind of closed out the angle with the Revival and Randy Orton with a go home match this past Monday where the New Day won. And out comes Brock Lesnar. His music plays, and it's not just Paul Heyman, but it's actually Brock Lesnar. Comes down to the ring, Kofi tells the New Day to go away. I cannot wait until we get Biggie and Brock Lesnar in the ring. So there's no way in hell those two do not get into the ring together at some point in time. But that's neither here nor there. Kingston tells them to go away. They walk out of the ring, and Paul Heyman does his thing. We have Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston in the coming weeks. That's actually going to be probably or it better be the main event for the first live SmackDown that's going down on Friday. I think that's October 11th, 14th, 4th. What day is that? October 4th, I think. Sign me up. Sign me up for this. Now, I am of the school of thought where I think that they're taking that title off of Kofi, which, okay, Kofi's had a 5-month run. I've enjoyed it. It's deserved. He is who he is. I'm not going to shake a fist at it at all. If they want to put that belt back on Brock, of course, in my opinion, they put it back on Brock. It's nothing more than a path to get it back on Roman at WrestleMania next year. But I will say that if they if they put Kofi Kingston over Brock Lesnar, I would lose my mind. It would remind me of the time when I was a kid when everyone remembers the moment that Chris Jericho beat Triple H, and it ended up getting reversed later on that night. But when Chris Jericho beat Triple H at when Earl Hebner did the fast count, I lost it. I was jumping over chairs, running up and down the hallway, et cetera, however old I was back then. If Kofi Kingston beats Brock Lesnar, you might have the same type of reaction. I don't know. I might live stream my reaction for that. People, I mean, the divisiveness about Kofi Kingston's run is pretty much being split right down, right down racial lines, in my opinion. I see a lot of white commentators talking about how bad it is, how bad it's been. I see a lot of black wrestling personalities, pundits, media experts, whatever you want to call them, talking about how much they enjoy Kofi's run, and I do see it basically being split right down racial lines. But that's a conversation for another day. I Giving him a win over Brock Lesnar, I don't think it's gonna happen. Again, I said I don't think it's gonna happen, but it would top off this run, and I think he becomes a made man, and I think that translates to the New Day. And I do believe that there's value in not necessarily breaking up the New Day, but keeping them as a group, but making them competitive against each other. I want to see a Big E title run. I want to see Xavier Woods with a title run. Doesn't have to be like a main title, but I want to see him with a title run. They do not have to be stuck in the tag team picture. There's opportunity there with all three men, and I think that we are going to get that in the future. And I believe it starts on October 4th with Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston. Last thing I wanted to note was Jason Jordan. His career is basically over, and Jason Jordan, I feel bad because the WWE bought into him and they wanted him to be something big, but his neck injury just would not heal, and it's kept him out of action for almost since I want to say early 2018, right? Kept him out of action since last year. You may catch a glimpse of him doing backstage segments where he is an agent backstage, but it looks like he's done, and that's unfortunate because he's someone that they brought into. He had the look, he had the ability, he was getting better on the mic. He could have been in the position that Baron Corbin is in today, but unfortunately his body failed him. So that's sorry to see, and I hate to see some of that news coming out this week. But that's all I wanted to go into for this show. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast here on MMA Ratings Network. You can catch us at MMA Ratings Net, where you can go and rate the fights. Also, let us know how excited you are about the upcoming fights. Use our star system there. You can catch us at MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter, where we are sharing a lot of our content, talking about current matches and current fights. You can catch our Thursday podcast, MMA Ratings podcast, up to episode 135, where Schwan and I go over all the action from MMA in the past week. You can catch that there every Thursday. Usually goes up around 10 p.m. This show is either a Wednesday or Friday show. Let's Talk Wrestling. This is episode number 32. What episode number is this? 32, right. And my name is Raphael Garcia. You can catch me at rgarcia_sports. Like and subscribe to our channel, and please share whatever you can find whenever you see it. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me talk about wrestling, give my insight. Please share this across your social media channels. And as always, have a great weekend, be safe, and we'll be back here next week.